All right, so welcome. This is the last Focus Friday of 2025. Thank you for your support, and hopefully we'll see everybody in January. Close this. All right, so for my part of the session, for everyone, um, I'm going back to the seasonal gems topic that Walter Blood and I used to do, which is basically some useful things or things that hopefully you'll find useful. But first, we're going to do a 2025 recap. I'm just going to go over the different topics that I talked about during the year, and then we'll talk about the hopefully useful set commands. So what did we do this year? It's been a long year. Seems long. Went quick, though. We started out talking about table basics, how to create, through code, a simple table request. We talked about the table versus table F. We talked about sorting, filtering, all that fun kind of stuff. Then we talked about defines and expressions, how to create your own fields and your own calculations. From there, we talked about how to do a defined function, because defined function is just built on the definitions you have in your defines. Then we talked about joins. And if you notice, there's a theme. We got table basics, join basics. So we kind of just went back and, this is the minimal of what you need in order to do these things. And maybe if you're interested, we can go a little more depth during the 2026 year. We talked about FML and FML hierarchy. The difference being FML hierarchy, you give a parent value, and then your report will show you all of the child values underneath the parent, which is really great if you have something where you're adding an accounting structure where everything rolls up from one account to the other. So all your accounts starting at 1,000 roll up to assets, but then you might have 1,001, 1,002, 1,003, and so on. So the hierarchical says, okay, I want to see all my assets, and then as new assets are added with new account numbers, as long as they're under that 1,000 numbering convention, then they'll automatically show up in any future report. We talked about some dialog manager basics. Main thing there is dialog manager in your code, if you're looking at it, starts with a dash. If you don't have a dash in front of the line in your code, then it's going to go into the stack, and dialog manager commands run immediately, and stack commands run after we see a dash run or you exit the procedure. Then we talked about freeform reports. Normally you do tabular reports where you have columns and rows. Freeform is like a letter. So you can do a form letter and put data anywhere you want. And lastly, we talked about partition function. And when we talked about how you could use those to replace older technology like last, and explained how a partition ref, if you do a -1, it would act like last. But you can also go -2, -3, and go several records either back, or if it's a positive number, you can go forward in the grouping. So it's all based on a group. And then we talked about the partition agger functions. Specifically, we showed how to do a replacement for a count distinct within. All right. Robert, I see your question. I'll chat with you a little later. But he's doing well. So Robert just asked how Walter Blood doing. Or just went away. I don't know if everybody saw that.
Hey,
All
Walter.
right. Yeah.
Just before that, I think you were breaking up a little bit. Uh, or at least you broke up a little bit for me.
Uh,
So I'm
yeah,
not
there was one
sure.
point there where I got an unstable connection. So hopefully, let me just make sure that that all looks
Yeah,
okay.
yeah, they're chiming in now.
Hopefully it was a one-time thing. All right, let's jump into the sets. Um, so Ken, just kind of let me know if it continues, and then hopefully we'll take care of it,
All
or
right,
see if I can do anything about it.
sounds good.
Okay, so the first set we're going to talk about is set subtotal. So when you run a report normally and you do subtotals, where did the subtotals show up? So the default for this setting is below, so the subtotals will be at the bottom of the report, and this is what your output would look like. You can change the setting to be above without having to change any other code, and the subtotals will now show on top of the report. Now, this was a big deal when it came out because before this, you would have to do something like a MacGyver technique in order to get the subtotals where you wanted them. Test date. So if you're writing code and you have, or you're using system variables for dates, like amper date YYMD, amper YYMD, by default, that's going to show you today's date. But what if you want to test your code to see if you go past a certain date? You don't want to wait for that day to come along and then remember to have to go back and test it. So what you can do is effectively change the system date by setting set test date, and the format is YYMD, no slashes, just the 8 digits. So here, if I do set test date 2024-09-02, and I use the amped variables YYMD, MDYY, date, NTR, I will see that value that was there. So it allows you to do some additional testing. Hide null across, this one's kind of interesting. The default value is off, and it suppresses null columns across the report. So in this table request, it looks like we're doing some sales by country, by body type, across car. Well, since England doesn't have any Alfa Romeos or Audis or BMWs, notice that we're seeing the dots, which is the missing value. How could I change this now so that I don't see we call this the measles report because the dots are all over the place. You can turn hide null across on.
Hey, Walter. I'm sorry to
Yes.
interrupt. Yeah, it seems like you're breaking up again.
This is weird. I rebooted and all right, let me try something and let's just give me a minute. All right.
Sorry about that, everyone.
Hopefully I don't get dropped. Can you hear me?
I can hear you now.
Okay. Let's see if this is any better. I dropped and reconnected to the Wi-Fi. Hopefully that'll take care of it. All right, so the set hide null across on will then left shift all of the columns so that you have no columns that have no data. Now, if you understand the data for the car file, if I do some sales by country, by body type across car, I'm going to see data for Alfa Romeo when I get to Italy. So the difference is I'm doing a by country page break. So each country is going to show up on its own page. So on the England page, we'll see all the dots except for the Jaguar and Triumph and Jensen. When I turn the high null cross on, notice now that I just see Jaguar, Jensen, Triumph. I don't see any of the other columns because those were null for that page of the report. So high null across is not only across the columns that have data, but also it's only on that physical page. And then to the right, I have Italy showing that now we just see Alfa Romeo and Maserati. All right. So far so good. All right. So now I'm going to talk about SQL on non-relational data sources. So you've been using something that was SQL based. Thanks, everyone. But so you're more familiar with SQL than you are with Focus and the Focus code. So a simple table request, table file car, some retail cost, dealer cost by country, where country equals England, gives us this report output. Or if I wrote it as SQL, I can do SQL, select country, some retail cost, some dealer cost, from car, where country equals England, and I'm going to group by country. So this does standard ANSI SQL languaging. And if I run that, I get the exact same output. So one question I have for you guys is, does anybody know why I have the comma in front of the sums rather than at the end of the line? So I do that because when you're writing code and you want to add and subtract columns, so if you're doing some testing, if I do the comma before the verb object, in this case, then I can just comment out the line and not have to worry about adjusting the comma before or after on the previous line. So it makes the code a little more flexible. So just a little coding trick that hopefully you can use in the future. All right, so we went from table to SQL. So if you're comfortable with SQL, thanks, Margaret, I can do something like SQL, select country. So this is exactly the same thing I did before. Notice that it's just SQL. But now I'm going to do SQL, SQL, MySQL. I'm going to specify the engine that I'm going against, the relational database. So in this case, it's MySQL. The differences are, if I don't specify the engine, I'm going to go, or Focus is going to go and look for the master, the synonym, and the fields that you reference in the SQL have to be found in the synonym. Okay, that's the big difference. If you specify the data engine, we don't look for a master. We just pass it directly to SQL, to your relational database engine. So in the second column, all of your field names, all of your column names need to match what is physically in your MySQL database. So if you have aliases that have different names than your field names in your synonyms, on the left side you can use the field names, but on the right side you can't, because we're not even going to check the master at that point. And that's basically what these blurbs say. And then lastly, converting SQL code to Focus code. So let's get a little more trickier. I'm going to do a select country, car, model, sales from car, where sales is greater than or equal to the result of select max sales from car, where country equals England. So we're going to get the maximum value of sales for all of the records in England, and then we're going to pass that and see that see all of the countries, cars, and models that have sales equal to or greater than that number. if you have multiple MySQL server connections, how does it then choose which MySQL server to access? Uh, so it would be the one that would be connection. If you're not going to specify if you're not going to use the synonyms. If you do use the synonyms, then the access file will identify which connection you're going to use. So I hope that helps. So here we're doing a subselect, little something a little more advanced in SQL. This is the report I get. The maximum sales for England was for the Jaguar, and then we see all of the other models that have that or more. Correct, Charles. So Charles put in the chat, so everybody should hopefully see it, to use the engine set default connection. I can take the code that I just ran and add some additional commands to it, mostly the highlighted ones, the echo on and the file new SQL. And just as a notable mention, at the top, I'm doing an app hold VUG, because I'm actually creating something, and if I don't have an app hold, it's going to go into editemp, and I wanted to store it in my application directory, so that's what the app hold.
It looks like Walter, you're breaking up again. Yes, it looks like he may have lost connection to his box.
New SQL.fetch.
Hey, Walter, you're losing your audio again.
All right. I'm going to wrap this up, and then while you're working, I'm going to try to see if I can make it any better.
Sounds good.
I should check my messages. Maybe I have something from Xfinity saying there are outages in the area. So when I run that code, my new SQL fetch now has a lot of stuff in it. There's a lot of dialog manager. But once you parse through it, you'll eventually see a table request that says write max body sales. So get the maximum sales for country equals England. And it goes to a hold file. Then further down, we read the hold file or the save file to get that value and put it in an amper variable. And then further down, you'll see another table request that has print country car model sales, where sales is greater than or equal to the value we just read. So any questions? The audio issues, but let me see if I can figure it out. All right, Ken, I'm going to stop sharing. And over to you.
Thank you, Walter. All right. I hope that my screen is visible.
It is.
All right. So happy Focus Friday, everybody. My name is Ken. I am a product manager for IBI, for Web Focus Designer. So for today's topic, we're going to go over what's new in 9.3.6. We're just going to go over some of the latest features that we've implemented in 9.3.6. Thank you, Clinton. Let's get started. So really the agenda today, we're just going to go over some key features enhancement that we implemented in WebFocus Designer for 936. And as you may know, 936 is available for download on the delivery, and you should be able to use it if you're planning on upgrading. So really our initiative going into 936 and also future releases as well is that we're trying to close the functional and feature gaps between Designer as well as from Designer and IA and App Studio. So with this commitment, we're trying to provide you with a single, more modern and also powerful platform that combines all of the products that we host in Designer. So today, we're just going to go over some of the new features that we've added in 936, and maybe some notable ones that we're also in 935 if you're also there as well. So the first that we're going to discuss, we enhance some of the report customizations. So in IA, you know that we could add subheader, subfooter, and so we've implemented that feature in Designer. So this is how it will look like here. So in Designer, we create a visualization in a new report. If you right-click a field here and you have your right-click menu options here, you'll see an option for subheader and add a subheader, or subfolder, depending on which one you would like to use. Doing so, it'll open up like an overlay where you can enter your message. You have your font and your styling options on top, where in this case here, I put product category in red and bold. You could change your font size. I did an amper date just so that we could show the date. So after you click apply, it'll apply to the report. And when you run the report, it will look like something like this. So I know this is a functional gap that from IA, so now that it's available now in Designer in 936. Do we have any questions for subheader, subfooter? All right.
Not yet.
The next enhancement we've done is we've added some filter enhancements to the filters. So here, the first one that we're going to discuss is date filters. So previously in date filters, we could only do the short range or before or after. So here we have implemented on and not on option. So which allows the users to select a specific date using the calendar control. So this would apply the equal, like the equal to or the not equal condition to your filter syntax. This will be done automatically. So Charles asks, can you use where within the subfooter? I don't believe that we can. These are just options these are right-click options that we're adding to the field. Should be very similar to IA if you've used it there as well. So I believe that also answers your question as well, Steve. So moving on back to the date filters. So what we implemented in date filters is to have the on and not on option so that you can select a single date, whether you want to filter through that single date or not on specific dates. So here, where we have our trusty WF retail here with sale dates, if you right click the filter option, you have an option for like that you see here that are new, that's our non and not on. And also a notable mention that also what we implemented in 95 is the ability to rename parameters and rename a title of your parameter. So if let's say for instance, your rename parameter, the default parameter name will be like your master file name, and the whole fully qualified name at the end will be like time date. It might be really long. Maybe you want something shorter. You can use this rename option and rename it here, and this will be reflected in your effects. Do we have any questions for the date filter enhancement that we added? Okay. The next functionality we added was the ignore functionality. So this functionality was something that was just something that we thought was very useful for users like me. You created a filter, but you're not sure if you want to use it, but you're also not sure if you want to delete it. So here we've added this functionality where a user could right-click a filter where you can include it, exclude it, and then update the effects dynamically without really deleting it. So in this case here, you see my filter here for product category. I set it to exclude accessories. So here in the I guess in the preview, we don't see accessories here. So, but I'm not sure if I want to really exclude it. So I chose ignore. So what ignore does is that it will basically, in a sense, hide this filter. So it'll show you something like this, where this ignore is checked on, you know that is enabled, and you'll still see it's still excluding if you want to have it here, but but because we're ignoring this, we'll still see accessories as part of your report. Okay, so that's one of the functionalities that we added to the filters. Do you have any questions for the ignore filter?
No.
Yeah. So this one, I feel like most of you guys would enjoy and like. So this one is to now we have the ability to multi-select fields in Designer. So this will increase your efficiency of putting your fields on the report. You don't have to do a drag in one by one. So now we have the ability when we can multi-select fields. You could do as many as you want all at one time. You could use your multi-select by holding on your control key, clicking as many fields that you want, and just dragging over the bucket. So here I have this little video here that I took. So here I multi-selected a bunch of these fields, and you could drag them all at once. So you could do this with reports as well, as well as visualizations and charts. Uh, so this functionality here is something that we thought that many users would like to have, opposed to, let's say, if you had a much more in-depth master file where you want to add a lot more fields and you don't have to drag them one by one. And now you can drag multiple all at once, or maybe like a few of them at the same time, and they'll save a lot of your developing time. All right, next up, along with that multi-select, what we did was we added some query panel enhancements to Designer. So we wanted to be able to let users view all the defines all at once. So how did we do that? So now we added a functionality in Designer where you can now display all your defines all at once in the query panel. This will allow for each of you to review or edit and manage your complex logic. So everything will be in the same panel. So it will look like something like this, where we would go to your top left, you select your master file, you expand the drop-down menu here, and there's an option called Show Calculations Only. So once you enable this option, you'll see all the defines that you've created, whether it's created in the master file or the one that you create in your report. So of course, the ones that you create in your master file, we can't right-click them and edit them. But the ones that you created here and during your report, so the ones that you see here, that calculation 1, calculation 2, I believe I created another one here. That's new gross profit. Like those, you can right click. You have the right click menu to open up the editor and make any changes that you want, save them, and it'll only show here. So if you want to go back to your other view, you just expand the menu again, just deselect it, and you go see the rest of your fields in your master file. And another thing that we have also implemented here was if you let's say you didn't want all calculation 1 and all the three defines that I create here, you didn't want them, you're deleting them one by one. So if there's no defines that you can't get to that menu, it'll just automatically revert back to the full list of master file dimensions and measures. Do we have any questions so far? All right. So with that, we've also worked on adding additional formats to the list when you enable user selection as a format option. So previously, these right now on the left side where it says available. So in 936, you have all these fields available. Well, output formats that are available. But previously in all the older releases, you're only able to select a few of them. So we're missing like the CSV option, the JSON option, XML option. Clinton, would you mind? So Clinton asks, is this configurable for a designer like for IA? What do you mean by that? Are you referring to the multi-select?
And do you want to unmute them?
Are you talking about the output format? So for the output format, this is you're right. So the output format, yes, that's in an admin console under IA. Right now, we're working on the newer designer options, but for now, for to enable the user selection, it will be under the Infosys properties. And then you go down, save, and clear cache and make sure that you're able to use them. So in the older releases, where you see previously under previously, we're missing a few options, but now we've upgraded it, we've enhanced it, so now we see all the options that are available under reports. So charts, I did a comparison between charts as well. Most of the options are the same. The only difference is for charts, it shows HTML5 versus HTML, but the output is about the same. Okay, did I lose my mouse? Yes. And the next thing that I don't want to just put everything in Designer, I also want to talk about the sample pages as well. So we made an enhancement here as well to be able to assign multiple conditions in a single task. So now we combine the logic where you can use the and or logic. So like for instance, you could have an and logic where it triggers only if if it's met by the and. So let's say product category is accessory and the region is North America, or you could set it to or. So it chooses if you select one or the other, it would come into effect. So here I have a little snippet here. So here we create an interaction. We see my button one, and we have multiple conditions in a task. So all this is going to do is that if my filter, it meets this, so I select this so that category equals accessories, and my filter for region will be North America. So that is if that is met, then it will run this alert. So this is just a simple JavaScript function. I didn't want to do anything too crazy. So all it's going to do is just show up alert once these two conditions are met, as well as or. So you can change into an or by right-clicking where it says and. It will give you the option that's called change to or. So once you do that, I created a new button for this one. This is for button two. So just to change, if this was a category as camcorder or television, it would implement or it will run the function, the same alert. So it'll look like something like this. Well, click too early. So here I selected accessories and I had to fulfill my and. So once I click North America and click the button one, it'll run the JavaScript function. So if it doesn't meet that, it won't run that JavaScript function. And as well as for button two, where I select camcorder and then run the button, it'll still run the JavaScript function because it met. It is camcorder or televisions, right? And if I made any other selection that's not either of those, then it won't run the JavaScript function. So here I just clicked a few times just to make sure it ran, but it doesn't do anything because the conditions weren't met. And that is all for the features that I have for 936. So I hope to see you guys do some more upgrading there and look forward for more new features in the next release.
Good job, Ken.
Thank you, Walter. Do we have any questions?
No, they're being quiet.
Welcome, Clinton. No, the features left them speechless.
Some good positive feedback. That's always good.
Thank you, everyone.
All right, I switched SSIDs, so hopefully that will help my audio issues. All right, so that concludes the standard part of the show. If you drop off because you're not a mainframe customer or not a Focus customer, then please be sure to fill out the evaluations because we do get those and review them. And if there's anything you want to see for next year, because we're still in the planning phases of what we're going to discuss next year, let us know. And thank you for coming. Everybody have happy holidays and a happy new year, and we'll see you in January. For those of you on Focus and mainframe, stick around, and we're going to do a recap of the subjects we went over during 2025. Thanks again.
Thank you, everyone.
While they're doing that, I'll get my stuff set up. So you see my PowerPoint, right, Ken?
Yes.
Make sure I share the right screen. All right, so as usual, the last part of the session, we're going to talk all things mainframe. And I figured I'd give you a little break time, and we're going to just do a review of what we talked about during the year and see if there are any questions. I do have my topics for January ready. So on the mainframe side, I'm going to talk about what should you provide to us when you open a support ticket? Because right now, if you just open a ticket, explain what your problem is, we'll probably review what you sent us, but then say, oh, well, please send us X, Y, and Z. So the intention of January session is to let you know what we're most likely going to ask you for, so you can provide it when you open the case. And then hopefully it will expedite the resolution of your cases. But that's in January 2026. So let's talk about the year in review. So we started off in January talking about JCL basics. Very simple. We talked about job cards, execute cards, D cards, sysouts. I believe we talked about dispositions of data sets and how you can tell if a data set is being created or if it's something that should already exist. So that was that. Then we talked about profiles, because profiles can exist in many places in the product. So we discussed where you can find them and the order of processing if you have them in multiple places. Then we talked about Focus ID, which is a user exit, which is something that you can write, and we offer you a standard stub or example. And what this does, it allows you to get better control over the DBA in your Focus databases that use DBA, database access, in order to set the proper user level of how you want to see the person having access. So you might have different people in a group or in a department, and that department has their own group in your security system, whether it's RACF or ACF2. Then you can go and read that group and then set the user ID. So when your user comes in, they don't have to set the password. The Focus ID module already set it for them. We talked about the differences between MVS and USS, and that was done primarily because of the WebFocus product. The WebFocus product runs on the MVS side, and we call it a PDS server because it runs from partitioned data sets. And then we have the USS server, which runs from an HFS file system. Then we talked about how to call Rex. You might have your own homegrown Rex commands or Rex functions, and you want to utilize them in your Focus or Focus Studio environment. So we talked about how to configure them and write them and pass them, and how to call them from within the Focus product. We talked more about Focus configuration files. So the profiles were like edit sprof. The configuration files are more like the edit serve, where you have your different adapters identified in there. So it's a little different, but again, we talked about the different locations that you can find these and what goes in each item. When you submit jobs in batch, we did a quick SDSF, which allows you to look at your submitted jobs and check the statuses. And it was a quick reference. often used commands, how to see and filter to see your jobs, and then what to look for in the JES logs. And then we talked about output format considerations on the mainframe, because depending on your output format, you will have to transfer your file either as ASCII or binary. Example of binary would be the XS. So it would be an the XLSX format, because that's a strict Excel binary file. Give me 1 minute. Of course, my auto vacuum had to get stuck right under my chair. So, all right, so XLSX is binary, so we need to make sure we transfer it as binary. Where if you do something like PDF is an ASCII format, so you would do that as a normal ASCII transfer. And then lastly, we talked about we reviewed common add-ins and what you can do to fix them. Did the cat chase it there? No, he didn't. It just decided it wanted some attention. And it's still hovering around me. And last month we talked about FOCLog reporting, which was different from what we did last year when we talked about the FOCLog installation, because that was strictly on the installation part. And then last month we talked about the different report menus and the different reports that you can generate to see how Focus is being used at your site. So any questions on any of that? That's a lot. Just remember, all the videos are available. What is a SOC 4? A SOC 4 is a system, you went out of bounds. So you went someplace, yeah, I know. They're trying to be funny here. But all right, so part of what I'm going to talk about next month when you open a ticket is, if you have an admin, definitely send us the JES log. Don't just send us little snippets. We want the whole thing. David. All right, so for those of you not in the chat, what's a sock for? To keep your feet warm. Wah, wah. Very good. I'll have to remember that one. All right. Any questions? It's been a great year, guys. We're going to keep doing the mainframe separate sessions through next year. Again, more importantly for you guys is to let me know what you want to hear about. So keep those ideas coming, fill out the evaluations. It's always great to see everybody, lots of old names, not people, just names. And hopefully next year we'll have a multi-day summit and get to see everybody in person again.